Hello and welcome to this Let's Build video for Dune Awakening. In this video we'll take a little deep dive into how the structural support system works in Dune Awakening and how you can create offset grids that will allow for extra snapping points for walls and floors so that you can, for example, create narrow pathways or really good looking storage areas. I will also build the hangar in the thumbnail, and that build can actually be supported by one single central pillar. The support system in Dune Awakening is fairly simple. Support only counts if it is snapping to the same grid, so if I place the triangle here, it will be supported by this column. If I place the triangle over here instead, it will be supported by the wall, and not by the column, despite looking like it is. So if I would remove the wall here, the triangle comes crashing down. It is possible to continue supporting structures up through surfaces that are not snapping to them. So for example, I can place a pillar here, and it can support stuff on top of it, like this. If you have a load-bearing building block like this foundation over here, then you can move away 9 steps before you lose structural support. If I build straight upwards from the foundation, then this doesn't count towards the limit and becomes a load-bearing wall, and I would still be able to move 9 steps out. While building upwards does not count towards the limit, going down does. So in this case, I am 9 steps away from the supported load-bearing wall here, and I can go upwards as far as I want to, but I cannot go downwards. Walls directly support the tiles on either side of them, so in this case the roof tile over here and here. Center columns only support what is directly above them, so in this case this roof tile here. But corner columns support all the tiles connecting to them in the middle. On top of providing support for a larger number of tiles than the other columns, the corner column is also the only one that can be placed inside of walls, so it really makes it the MVP of structural support in Dune Awakening. Load-bearing walls have the benefit over columns in that you can weave in floors every half wall height and not only at full tile height, as long as it is on the same plane of height despite not matching in grid. You can create grids that are offset sideways in the same plane of height for extra snapping points for walls, and that will open up new possibilities for detailing when building. Because triangles are not as wide as normal roof tiles, you can create different increments of offsets by first going outwards with triangles, and then double back with normal roof tiles. If you are a bit innovative, you can probably create any type of offset from the original grid in the same plane of height. But the most useful one is probably the half tile offset, and I had to credit a player named Gelric for commenting on one of my previous videos about a super simple way to create that. So the way we do it is that we grab a triangle rooftop, doesn't matter what set, and we place it against a wall like this. After that, we take a piece of floor, also doesn't matter what set, and it actually snaps both like this and like this now. So if we place it like this, and then we grab a foundation, we can now place it over here, and this foundation will be perfectly half tile offset from the first one here. You can, for example, use the half tile offset to create a narrow staircase like this, or a storage area only going out half a tile from a wall. And I think a neat way of accomplishing this is by having a little secret layer below the first floor with offset foundations, and then you can just bring half walls up wherever you need snapping points. Obviously in both of these cases there will be stuff sticking out on the outside of the wall, so you will either have to figure out some way to incorporate that into your build or hide it behind an extra layer of walls. Another way you can create a really useful offset is if you already have made that half tile offset and you bring a wall up to the roof like this and you have this pattern. Then you can take a wall, any type of wall, and place like this. And it will actually be attached to the roof tile here and not to the wall, so I can destroy the wall. And then we can just keep building from that first offset wall we put up, and all of these walls will actually be supported by the roof tiles below them. And this, for example, can be used to create an overhang by half a tile for a roof, which looks a lot better than a full tile overhang. While using offset foundations are most likely perfectly safe from future patches, I wouldn't really put anything too valuable on top of these type of connections because I don't think they are actually meant to be there, so they might get patched out in the future. And with this little deep dive into the support system out of the way, let's build this nice round hangar build that was showing in the thumbnail. But first, there's a timestamp here if you want to skip ahead, because I'm about to ask you to like and subscribe, and you might not want to do that. But if you're still here, thank you. Pressing like on a video you do like actually really helps the content creator, because like and subscription ratio is something that YouTube seems to really care about. So if you have a good like ratio, YouTube will push that video a lot harder. But anyway, let's continue and actually start with the build. We start with that central supporting pillar, and it doesn't really matter what set you are using as long as you are using a corner pillar, because the corner pillar will provide structural support to all the tiles touching it at the top. For triangles, that's all 6 of them. We start with a very simple pattern wherever we want the hangar to start, like this. And then we add another circle of triangles outside the first one. I will use a different material here just to make it easier to spot what I'm doing. Once we are done with the first 2 circles of triangle roof tiles, we switch to ordinary ones. So like this. And we go 2 tiles outwards. And after this, we only need to fill in the gaps. Now you could continue upwards here with 1 corner column in the very center, but what I did instead was using several of these, even though it resulted in less parking space for my ornithopters. There is actually something really peculiar about these pillars that you need to be aware of. I can rotate this one like this just fine, but over here I just can't place it the same way. The reason is that how you can rotate these pillars depends on the rotation of the roof tile that they are placed on. So you can see over here, like this one is rotated like this one like this, and this one in a different direction, and that's the reason I can't place it like I want to. So if I remove this one, we place a new roof, and this time we rotate it in the same direction as the other 2. So like this. Oh, that was a spice blow, I guess. Now we pick up the pillar again. So let's do that. And this time we can rotate it just fine. Now let's continue upwards. And now we just repeat the same pattern up here as we did down on the floor. And with that out of the way, we can start adding pentashields. The ordinary roof tiles here that we got on the second outmost row and all around the building are a really good place to cut holes for stairs to the levels below. And remember, you don't need to align the rotation of the floor below with that of the stairs, because the stairs, just like the platform above, is already supported by the central pillar. We can also add a ladder going up to the balcony above, so let's delete the triangle over here. You can potentially do a bunch of different cool things here, but what I did was add detailing with the roof, and then a bunch of wind turbines together with a little central house. For the central tower, there is another trick I can show. Of course, you could build up straight from here and have the balcony on the outside, but then it would result in a much more angular building than it really would have needed to be. So what we will do instead is grab another of those columns and start building upwards from the center. Upwards like this, then grab the triangle roofs. But instead of repeating the pattern we have down here with triangles only in the second row as well, we will alternate between the ordinary roofs here and triangles, so it will look like this. And then we can just bring the walls down instead of up, so let's place them here. You can of course continue upwards, but I will finish this build by adding some roof detailing on this last floor. And with this little last detail on top of the roof, I think we are actually finished with the build. Well, there is just one thing left to do now. You know it, I know it. We need to remove one of those columns and end this video watching it all come crashing down. Let's do it. Cheers!